What is up, possums? We are in the thick of rookie draft season right here. So, Billy's in Tijuana, probably getting ready to be a drug mule across the border at some point. So, in his stead, Josh and I will be running you through our IDP Alpha Chat draft and just sharing some thoughts on the players because, guys, the rankings that you find out there, they're new, they're fresh. Everyone's got a different mind on it. There's no consensus. And, we're just here to kind of help you when you're in these situations, kind of have an idea of where to take these guys. So I'm with Josh. Follow him at Josh All, STL. That's 1H. It's kind of weird. I know. Follow us at Offensive Points. And, guys, just give us a shout out. We want to hear from you. So, Josh, what's up, man?
It's a common name, man. It's hard to do, but I really hope that you just got Billy flagged by customs when he comes back from Mexico. He's gonna be like, we heard about you, buddy. You're coming to the back here.
He's gonna be in one of those submersible submarines coming across to Miami there. About 50 kilos.
He's on a boat right now on his way back. He would not give us an accurate destination time, so I assume that that's exactly what's happening. But
yeah, he just said, I'm on a boat doing flips and shit. It was the only text that we got. So ...
honestly, I've for rookie drafts, it's so wild to me because I look at everything to see what people are saying because I want to know. I know where I value my guys that I like, but I wonder where everyone else values. So I'd like to just go and look and see, like, Eric, where is Kendry Miller going in all these drafts? And some have him at 7, some have him at 14, and some have him in 20. And there's so many different. So we're just going to kind of deep dive this draft and it should be pretty simple in the beginning goings. This is probably our most accurate draft that we're in together, at least what I've seen. So let's, without further ado, man, let's hop right on in.
Who is taking number 1?
Bijan. And hopefully every league out there other than Superflex, but I still think it's Bijan. Not 100% sure.
No, it's absolutely Bijan. His situation is perfect. Tyler Algier was a great story last year, but he is going to get 70% of the work right off the bat. Bijan is the selection here.
Yeah, so pretty easy there. I think 2 is where the real conversation comes in. Personally, Gibbs is my number 2. Our boy took Jackson Smith-njigba here. So we should see where I'm assuming Gibbs goes higher. And at least if we were to put out rankings right now, I'd be putting Gibbs at 2. What is that? Consensus?
Yeah, I would absolutely be putting Gibbs at 2. I mean, Jamal Williams is gone. DeAndre Swift is gone. That's every running back carry essentially from last year. So we're going to have to see how they paid Monty a lot of money. I think he slots kind of in more into that Jamal Williams role. And I think Gibbs probably has a chance to catch the most balls out of any running back this year. So he should have a monster season.
Just seeing like where Swift was when he was healthy and on the field and when he gashed the Eagles for however many he had in the past. I think that he will basically be that exact person, and just hopefully if he can stay healthy for a full season, who knows where he could end up. I mean,
I don't see much of a talent difference. Swift honestly probably is the better running back in my opinion. I think Detroit panicked on this pick a little bit, but Swift didn't stay healthy last year. They were, like, fuck this, let's get a young guy in there. And I do love the landing spot here. So he's 2 for me. But the conversation with what's up?
They had to have gotten news that someone was going after Gibbs, right? Like, I mean, there's no way they didn't get some sort of news that was like, holy shit, people are going to go after Gibbs and we can't allow them to get it. And then they went and they panicked and bought him at 12 because they could have got him at 20 or 18, whatever they had.
I think they woke up, brushed their teeth, put their suits on, and we're drafting Devin Witherspoon. And when Seattle took him at 5, they freaked the fuck out, traded back out of the spot, and then I think that's what happened personally. But I mean, he is where he is, and he's going to be a boon to that offense right away. So I do.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it was a weird situation, but that could have been their Bijan pick at that point at 7, or was that not a good idea? I don't know. It's interesting. Anyway, so Bijan Gibbs, JSN's fine. I think JSN's future is going to look really phenomenal. I just don't know where he slots in this year, and that's I think there might be a pick before him. And I know you were having an argument with Billy about this. This is one thing we did actually get out of him before he sailed onto his boat to be a mule. But I think Addison can be that number 3 as well. And he went at 5 here. I think that was a steal for Bomber. I think Addison's going to slot right into wide receiver 2 on Minnesota. I do think there's going to be a competition from Osborne, and I'd be worried if it was anyone that was, at the back end of this, or, some of these other guys like Rashee Rice, Hyatt, Downs. I think any of those guys could be, it might still be Osborne's field, but where they took Addison and what they're doing here is, hey, we got 1-2 more years out of Kirk Cousins. We need to give him another weapon. And I love it. And I think Addison has the chance this year to be the more efficient guy, but I think JSN's future is more locked in. And this is what you're drafting for in Dynasty. So I think JSN still could be 3rd, but I think at least have to talk about the argument for the 4th.
Yeah. I mean, JSN's my wide receiver 1. Lockett, I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of came in there and we saw more of a changing of the guard this year. I know Lockett's awesome. He's been a top 12 guy, like, I don't know, what was it, 2 of the last 4 years. Everyone, I think he kind of just takes a role. They really don't use the tight end that much. So I love JSN there. I hate the soft tissue hamstring bitch shit. I saw it with Alshon Jeffrey. We saw late career Julio Jones. That's my one concern with Smith-Njigba. We have one really good year of production out of him. But these wide receivers are really in drafts where I'm seeing so much no one agrees on any of these. I personally have Addison. I think he's probably my 5th or 6th guy right now. I would probably say, Jordan Addison, I love him to death. Licknickoff winner. I don't understand how you go to USC. I know Lincoln Riley played him on the outside, and he kind of fell off a little bit. But, he had 2 NFL caliber quarterbacks. When you're watching his tape, he runs those savvy routes. He's not going to have that much space in the NFL. So Hawkinson got 84 targets in 9 games. KJ Osborne is not dying. He's not going away, and he's very talented. So I think Jordan Addison was more of a panic pick by the Vikings because all 3 of those guys got sniped right before him. Zay Flowers, Quentin Johnson, and Smith-Njigba. I think they would have rather had any of those guys except for Jordan Addison. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on it.
The craziest thing was when we did our mock draft 3.0 or 2.0, maybe, I can't remember which one it was. We literally did that where that spot was where we had a wide receiver run. I don't even think we did it as much as the NFL actually ended up doing it, but we were like, hey, this is where it's going to get crazy. And we were right. So I definitely think that those were right moves for all these teams. Whether the right one fell to the right team, I'm not sure. But I'm excited about Addison, and JSN I'm excited about for more of next year, but I'm not saying that they could support 3 wide receivers too. That team is going to be playing a lot, and the way they played last year, I feel like JSN could just slot right in, and they don't really have a 3rd receiving target. There's not really like a main tight end, or there's not really a slot receiver. I guess Lockett kind of. So I don't know what's going to happen, but it's exciting for the future for JSN. So sky's the limit there, and then Quentin Johnson, the only guy we haven't talked about in the top 5, which I think we nailed this top 5 here. You could swap the order all you want, but this is pretty much the top 5 people who landed in perfect spots and will play right away. Other than Quentin Johnston, who is slotted in to do the exact same thing as JSN. I didn't like the landing spots for either one of those guys, but Quentin Johnston, we kind of know Keenan Allen's not done. And I think we'd be doing a disservice to the listeners to say Keenan Allen's done, because he's not. But he will be soon. And this might be the year that, he takes a little step back and maybe plays more of a role player, kind of like Julio late in his career. And there's going to be some other guys like what Keenan Allen is probably going to be like this year. But I don't say panic on Keenan Allen even. Sorry about that.
No, that off, bless you, by the way. I know that offense is going to be really good. People are so off on Quentin Johnson. They keep comparing him to Mike Williams. Mike Williams is a guy that's going to get you the contested catch downfield. He's going to boom 1 week and he's going to disappear for 3 weeks and he's going to have another good week. Quentin Johnson is a dump off guy. You get him in the field and you let him work. And I think it's a great addition to this offense. Keenan Allen obviously is getting up there in age, and we've seen both Keenan Allen and Mike Williams have injury concerns. So Quentin Johnson can get on the field really quickly. Only concern is those damn drops. I assume a coaching staff is going to be able to help with that, but Yeah, I mean, I actually kind of like the landing spot. I think we could see him get on the field really early and actually have a sizable role this year. So
I really like the landing spot overall for this one. I like this one a little bit better than JSN even, just because the Chargers changing the guard with Keenan Allen, but even the fact that if any team could fit 3 wide receivers on it to be fantasy relevant is Justin Herbert, who throws the ball so much. I really want to see Herbert succeed. He's done really well. It just hasn't been perfect on paper. The poaches by Eckler and all the stuff that he's done, the touchdown numbers really aren't there for the amount of passing yards that he gets. But I think that this might be that year with Quentin Johnson in the mix as well. So, but yeah, top 5, pretty much nailed it. And then this is just me speaking, but number 6, I think could go one of 2 ways. The quarterback run's inevitable, and this is around the time I was pretty shocked because in years past, it's been running back, wide receiver, maybe Pitts in there for some stupid reason, wide receivers, running backs for like the first 8 or 9 picks. This is the first year we're seeing quarterbacks kind of go before the end of the late round. It's more middle round this year. I think the only person that I can say that, oh man, he should be right here instead of, Bryce Young, conversations for Zay Flowers.
Absolutely.
So I think he slipped in 2 of the 3 leagues we've been in, and one's still drafting. So who knows if he'll slip there too. But I think Zay Flowers could easily go ahead of time. He landed in a good spot. Odell's not going to be there forever. Do not panic about Odell. I think Zay Flowers is a great late first round, mid first round pick. It's kind of like the Olave situation to me. Like Zay Flowers has been like, I don't want him, push him down the line. But if you can get Zay Flowers late first, early second, I'm pretty happy with that.
Josh, I got to tell you my comp for Zay Flowers because I did have him as my wide receiver 1 pre-draft going into that. Don't make fun of me for this. It's Antonio Brown, man.
Dude,
the routes that he runs, it's so slippery. I love Zay Flowers. And this offense in Baltimore with Todd Monken running it now is going to be a different look offense. I assume they're going to throw the ball more. They really didn't bring in a running back. So Dobbins and Gus are going to be, kind of where they were last year. So definitely a good opportunity to buy low on those 2 running backs because people are way off of them. People are way off on this whole offense here. So I think Zay Flowers can come right in, and I would not surprise me if he's the best wide receiver by the end of the year.
Honestly, and that's the crazy thing about Zay Flowers is Bateman has been yet to prove himself. He's been injured. And honestly, it was really just last year that he's injured. The year before, he was just kind of not there. And then Odell is a rental. And this is a random deep ball gig kind of guy. Like it's going to be Deshaun Jackson, basically, which is great and fine for him. But they got to have a number 1. And if it's going to be anyone right now, it's Zay Flowers. And I'm pretty sure it was Zay Flowers that got comped to Tyreek Hill on live NFL draft day. I remember I was watching it and I go, oh no, his career's over. They did the John Brown effect to him. It might not have been him. It might've been Hyatt or someone. It was someone random. And I was like, oh no, please don't do that. But no, I really do like Zay. I think he can go. I'm not picking him in the top 5, but I think number 6 is perfectly acceptable. And then this is where the quarterback run starts. I think the way we have it listed in this draft is just fine. We've seen Anthony Richardson go before Bryce Young as well. I think it's Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson as 1-2. You sniped Richardson from me in the draft where I very, very much needed a quarterback. Thank you for that joke. Go fuck yourself.
I told you it was happening before I did it. So
you did. No, we had a whole conversation, listeners. I can't say that. I told him, hey, please don't do that. And then I was like, but for real, if you need to, sure. But like, don't.
Yeah, I really needed a quarterback, and Anthony Richardson is honestly probably the most athletic human to play on the offensive side of the football in a long time. Just on the sheer potential of what he could be is definitely the top quarterback off the board. Now, in this draft, it went Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud. I would put it Richardson, Stroud, and Young, at least from a fantasy perspective. I think CJ Stroud has some very sneaky rushing upside in this offense. We really didn't see it a whole lot at Ohio State, but he wasn't really asked to do it. CJ Stroud's an athlete. Good. Yeah. So I like him there. And then, Bryce Young, I am absolutely out. I know in our mock drafts, I said Bryce Young is the first overall pick because he's a gamer. He's ready. He's going to help that team. He's going to lead that team. But Stroud, in my opinion, has more faith. So I would put Young at the end of this group, but I get it. And the reason quarterbacks are going so high in this draft is because the landing spots in this draft this year are god awful.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't really like any of the teams. Indy Carolina and Houston. Hopefully Houston's going to have Mechie back. I saw he's going to participating in off-season workouts right now, which is great. Carolina did add they built a good roster for what they had last year. I mean, nobody can look at this roster and go, oh, that's so much worse or anything. People are complaining like, oh, it's not good enough. And it's like, dude, they're in a rebuild, man. Like, let them try, They got Miles Sanders for a few years, so they got their running back game hopefully situated there. Going and getting Bryce Young was great, and their wide receiver core isn't terrible at the moment. So I'm excited to see what Carolina is going to be. I don't know what Bryce Young's going to be. I personally had CJ Stroud as number one. That whole Wonderlic test kind of killed his stock right now. I think everybody's like, oh, CJ Stroud's dumb. I got Stroud right after Richardson, and I'm not upset about it. I still need a quarterback, and I'm pretty excited about where he's going because he's going a little bit later in some drafts. That's when Zay Flowers and I think Kendry Miller was actually picked 7th or 8th in one of our drafts. So, which we'll get to in a second. But yeah, so I think this is about
G.I. Joe. You snipe me. I'm a Kendry Miller pick.
Dude, you're so excited about Kendry Miller. All right, we'll get there. And then after the quarterbacks, which all kind of makes sense here, we could swap in and out here, of course, because depending on team need. But Zach Charbonnet, I don't like this. And this isn't because I don't like the kid. This happens every year. It's Isaiah Spiller all over again. I'm not saying Charbonnet is not going to have a role at all, because that was weird for Spiller not to like touch the ball for like the entire year. But Charbonnet, to me, makes no sense for Seattle. I don't know what they were doing. Maybe they're just trying to build for the future, and maybe there's going to be a good 1-2 with Charbonnet and Walker. But what we saw from Walker last year was phenomenal. So we get Charbonnet in there, and we love what we saw on tape from him. And you add him in, that it's just starting to get a little crowded in Seattle, which is not a bad option or not a bad thing to have for regular football, but for fantasy football, not big fans. So personally for me, Charbonnet is still a first-round pick, but a couple picks later, I think I'd put Zay Flowers again, and then Kendry Miller.
Yeah, the Charbonnet thing, I'm slowly warming up to it. I think we see way more of a split here than we're kind of anticipating. This was absolutely a luxury pick for Seattle because they got Witherspoon at 5, so their cornerbacks are tied up. They're doing pretty good at safety. Defense so this was a team that really is pretty solid and just needed to add someone for their playoff run. And I think Charbonnet is a guy that complements Kenneth Walker really well, and I think we're going to see a straight up 1-2 punch pretty much right out the gate. I don't think there's going to be much of a eating into the backfield or much of a 20 split. I think it's 50-50 immediately. I like Zach Charbonnet.
I could not agree more. For fantasy football's perspective, it's a dangerous pick, especially we saw it. I think Brandon picked him at like 5, and I was like, ugh. I mean, it was even earlier than that. And I was just
I think it was at 3, actually.
Yeah, it was at 3. And I think he was just like a next best available running back, I mean, whatever. I mean, the thing is, he's really good. And if he landed on any of these teams that need a running back, you'd be like, oh, hell yeah. Like, we're getting him. Like, so anyway.
I would take both of Kendry Miller and Devin Achane and probably Roshan ahead of Charbonnet at this point. But
this is the earliest Roshan has gone in a draft so far. Once again, only 2, and the first one's kind of stuck at number 7. We started this morning. So before we get there, let's talk about Kendry Miller. Coming into the Saints, really phenomenal out of college. Joe's favorite running back ever. I think he's the new Jamal Charles. Big fan. Not comping him to him. Just Joe just loves him. So therefore,
that's
Jamal
what
Charles.
I said. I said on a podcast that was my comp to Kendry.
That's Jamal even Charles. Better. I wasn't trying to put words in your mouth. I couldn't recall accurately there. But yeah, no, I think we're excited about this in general. Kamara is going to potentially be suspended for a few games, but also kind of over. I don't know, with the way people are treating running backs nowadays. I think he's still got a couple years on his contract left, but I think next year would be an out for him. This is Kamara replacement right here. And Jamal Williams obviously had a great year with Detroit last year. Nothing against Jamal Williams. I've been trying to offload him all offseason, trying to get picks out of him. Nothing against him. Once again, I think he actually could be phenomenal. But once I saw the Kendry Miller draft pick, I was like, oh, shit. Nope. They don't believe in him. And there's 3. This backfield's getting a little crowded now for me. But Kendry Miller is the future. So, Joe, what do you guys say about that guy? Other than Jamal Charles.
Jamal Charles. No, Kendry Miller is a home run hitting running back. He carried that TCU offense when Quentin Johnson was looking like dog shit out there for a little bit. I'm so hyped about this dude, and I actually like this landing spot. I mean, Jamal Williams isn't super dynamic. He's a great NFL player, and he's going to score you those touchdowns. He doesn't screw up out there, so he's not a liability. But, I mean, Kamara, the last 2 years, even with him out there, he has not been himself. So I don't know if age is catching up to him. Injuries are catching. Defense is just horrible. But Kendre Miller comes in, fresh legs, young guy, and I think we're going to see him, really start to, in those situations where he can hit home runs. I think he's going to be on the field a lot, especially if Kamara gets suspended. So definitely in the future. I love the prospects of this kid. I want him on every roster I can.
Yeah. So fun fact, basically after 5 or really 8 with the quarterbacks and 9 with Zay Flowers addition, it's basically futures at this point, in my opinion. I mean, there are some people that could have an impact this year, except for like tight end defense. But I will say Kendrick Miller is more of the future because I don't think Kamara's done yet. And I think the best thing for Kamara right now would be is if he were to put on some weight and just be the big running back instead of using, because he was always the speed guy. Kendrick Miller is a speed guy now. Learn your role, be the big guy, outwork Jamal Williams, because Kamara could outwork Jamal Williams if you wanted to. Yeah. He's not a small guy, even though everyone's kind of thought of him as the small guy. So, not
215 pounds, man, 5'11". He's got bell cow build, and freaking, he didn't run at the combine because he had an ankle issue. Which if he would have done anything at the combine, I think people would be all over his nuts right now. So, I'm kind of thankful for that.
And then
this next guy, Devin Achane, you said for future. I think this guy starts really soon.
I think there's a chance that he starts a lot sooner than it seems. So Miami signed Jeff Wilson and Mostert in the offseason to 2-year deals, both. Jeff Wilson's contract's for $1 million for the 2 years. And then I think Mostert's is like $4 million for 2 years. So neither of these guys they're stuck with. They can easily get out next year. I personally think that Achane's the future here. It's the first running back that Mike McDaniels gets to draft. So he's learned from the best in San Francisco, and he's going to try to build his own now. So I think this is not the last running back he'll draft in the next couple of years, but I think this is the guy right here. So
did you see how excited McDaniels was to draft Achane?
I did not.
It was ridiculous. So they were watching him through the draft, and he was just kind of sitting there, kind of straight face. As soon as they drafted him, he was pumped, man. This dude's getting on the field quickly, 4.38 speed. He's tiny, 188, 5'9". But we saw when Spiller left, I mean, he carried that offense. He really was a bell cow back for them. Miami is building a different team, and I think we need to be open to the idea that Devin Achane could be the RB1 on that team before long. I mean, he could throw him the ball. He's a pass catcher. Who's catching that team? Who's defending that team, man? Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Achane. Oh man,
it was a great move because they didn't really have an elite running back, and it was Jeff Wilson and Mostert can both be good, but I think they're both 30 years old. They're both getting older. They're obviously had health injuries early or issues early in their career, but honestly have been pretty healthy so far in the latter parts of the year. But the second one of them gets injured or just doesn't perform well or fumbles, Achane is getting some carries. I don't think it's he's not a week 1 starter by any means because you want to see how this plays out. But with 3 running backs on the roster, it's definitely a future pick. But at the same time, could be some playoff potential as well.
I think you're going to start hearing out of camp that Achane's running with the ones, and you're going to blow it off. Not you, but people are going to blow it off. But I wouldn't be surprised if no one's going to start him week 1. By the time week 2 rolls around, everyone's going to be starting.
I think he gets carries week 1. I just don't think you're starting him fantasy football week 1. You know what I mean? Like, let's see how it shakes out first.
He's my RB3 in this class. I would go. I mean, shit, looking at this draft, I probably would have taken him before the quarterbacks for sure.
I personally think Achane and Kendre Miller are both in that running back 3 situation because Charbonnet, let's just say you had to start one of these guys. Week 1, you have no running backs on your roster. You're Michael Karras. No offense, buddy. Hopefully you listen and hear this. Who's on the clock right now. So hopefully he drafts during this podcast. But you say you have no running backs on your roster. Bijan and Gibbs are gone. You need a running back to start week 1. You pretty much have no other options. You're not picking Charbonnet. You're picking Kendre Miller, Achane, Roshan Johnson. I mean, those are your options of, hey, they're going to probably be on the field. I think Kendre Miller and Achane are going to be the most efficient to start. I think Kendre Miller with the Kamara suspension would probably lead the pack. But Devin Achane, I think, is going to be phenomenal in the future. So let's get on the road.
Is that like second, late first guy that I am so freaking excited about? It's just unreal. I would say, just real quick, and we'll move on. Robinson, Gibbs, Achane, Miller, and Roshan are my top 5. on running backs by
I
far.
and like I said, I like Charbonnet for the future, but he just went to a team that just drafted a rookie. So I agree with you there. I mean, you can switch Kendry Miller and Achane all you want, but just for those podcast listeners out there, let's talk about this first round. Bijan Robinson, number 1, JSN, number 2, Gibbs, 3, Quentin Johnston, 4, Addison, 5, Bryce Young, Richardson, and Stroud, 6, 7, 8. Charbonnet, Flowers, Kendry Miller, and Achane to finish out the first round. And then we get into second round, which the first pick, which we kind of already touched on, Roschon Johnson. But Joe, before you take over, because you're going to, I want to talk about the fucking news story that came out about Roschon Johnson or about the Chicago Bears running back. And somebody said that, well, Deontay Foreman might be the leading back to start the year. Although Herbert's been on the team for 2 years and has been phenomenal in Montgomery's steads whenever he's out, has still had a role even when Montgomery's in. And they bring in a free agent wide receiver or running back in Deontay Foreman, and then they draft Roschon Johnson, and somehow Deontay Foreman is still in the lead to be the running back 1. How do you feel about that? Who would you pick as your running back 1 to start this year?
It's tough, man, because I love Herbert, but I think Roschon is the guy that's going to be the lead back in this offense. I think we're going to see him and Herbert out there a lot. Deontay Foreman is 1 year, $3 million. Either Poles plans to just kill him in that 1 year, or you're going to see a mix of these guys. But Roschon Johnson, if he was on any other offense, we'd be talking about him way more than we are. But Bijan obviously overshadowed him. He stayed the extra year. He was the team guy. Teams love that. So that's the deal. But most importantly, his pass protection is, I think, it was the best out of any of these running backs. So he's going to be on the field on third down a lot. He can catch passes. I love this landing spot. And the more I look at this team, I think he takes over as the one. I think Herbert's going to be more of the lightning to the hammer of Roschon. But what do you think about it? Because I'm absolutely thrilled.
I agree / disagree with you. There's no hard disagree or agree here. I think the funniest thing is the Chicago Bears do what Chicago Bears do, and they have 3 running backs that are the exact same. And I keep telling you need 2 different types of running backs on your team. I understand it's consistent this way. We
got Travis Homer.
Yeah, okay. One gets injured and you have the next one step right on up. But personally, I think Roschon Johnson is the number 2 here to Herbert to start at least. I think Herbert, it's his backfield until they say otherwise. Known as, I would say, started to be known as a bruiser, looked exactly like Montgomery for a while, started to show some bursts. I don't think Roschon has that. I think Johnson's going to be more of that Jamal Williams role. I think he's going to poach every fucking touchdown at the end of the year. I don't know when he starts doing that, but it will happen soon. So I think he takes a hit there, Herbert does, but I think that he gets a little bit more involved in the passing game than he has been in the past. So far, kind of been hit and miss pass catcher guy, 1 or 2 throws. Montgomery's role was usually that. So I think that this will be more of a pass catching role for Montgomery. Last year 2 years ago, he showed a couple 5-4 catches games. And when he filled in his rookie year, he was a lot better, getting 100 yards per carry or 100 yards per game. And then his second year, when filling in for Montgomery, he had a big game, and then he didn't do much else. So, not saying he can't do that anymore, but I think that with multiple backs in there, I think he gets poached on touchdowns. It's going to be that kind of get vultured kind of guy. Mike Tolbert is Roschon Johnson, and I think Johnson gets enough carries to where he's kind of like Brian Robinson, where it's a little bit of a breakout on games. And maybe that, I don't think that really changes Chicago's mind, but it might, so.
Yeah. Now, Chicago's mind is we're going to run the football down your goddamn throats, and there's nothing you're going to do about it.
Big boys you can't tackle.
Yeah, that's pretty much our game plan on that one. So I love Roschon, man. Maybe it's a homer pick. I do think he went 2-1 in this draft, so I wouldn't say steal, but I got him at 2-8 in our other one. That was a steal.
Yeah, that was definitely a steal. This is about where he should go. All right, so actually just talking about this second round for those YouTube listeners out there, or viewers, I should say. Roschon Johnson, Mingo, Tyjae Spears, Kincaid, Mayer, Rashee Rice, Hyatt, Downs, maybe not Downs, but all of those people are welcome additions, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm not
saying you're not going to talk about Will Anderson, our first IDP player going up at 6.
We will get to that. Will Anderson, that's right where he should be. I think mid-second round is where he gets drafted. But we're going to fly through this a little bit more now because we focus on the first round. But the second round, let's get to Mingo, Rice, Hyatt, Downs. That is 2-2, 2 7, 8, and 9. So no problems with any of those positions. I personally think you could swap any of them. I think my favorite person out of this is Mingo. Second would probably be Hyatt, but Rashee Rice gets vaulted up there, and I knew nothing about this guy until he got drafted. But he went to Kansas City where there's just no wide receivers. This is one of those, I love the landing spot. I don't love the player. Yeah. So I don't have any problems with Mingo, joining to Thielen, and who else do they have? They have another wide receiver they got in free agency.
Chark and LaVisca and Marshall.
It was Chark. Yeah. And then they had Terrace Marshall.
I was just rambling them off.
No, I think that he can easily be the number one in this backfield or in this wide receiver room. But at the same time, I feel like there's a problem because Mingo's not the sharpest at the moment. It could be very much Dorial Green Beckham, kind of the bigger bust type wide receivers. I don't personally think it's going to be, but I don't think there's really any competition for him. He's a big guy out there. He's going to get some jump balls. He's going to try to settle down Bryce Young pretty early. I think he's going to be a sure-handed target for him. Hopefully that Carolina uses him correctly. So probably, I mean, we have to agree that that's pretty much the next best wide receiver off the board, right?
Yeah, I know. I like Mingo a lot. Only concern is in college. I mean, he wasn't used a ton. He's coming out of Ole Miss. He looks just like A.J. Brown. He looks just like DK Metcalf. So I think those comps alone are kind of driving it up here. He's a unique wide receiver in a position of need for this team. So I like it. I was shocked to see him go that early. But yeah, in the second round, absolutely. I think he could be the wide receiver one before long.
The second and third round was fun for offensive weapons, and there's a lot of them that got drafted. So getting into Rashee Rice, obviously we kind of talked about it. Landing spot really is what is vaulting him up boards, and I'm personally okay with him going at the end of the second or end of the first round. I think anywhere from the end of the first round to where he's going in this draft at 108, 107 is pretty phenomenal. It's just he walked into the best quarterback in the league. And if he can just not be a bust like every other wide receiver they've drafted, this could be phenomenal for him. So, and maybe that's what they get out of this by not drafting wide receiver too early, and they get the right guy because they've done that a couple times now. So,
the difference with Rice and the Sky Moore, Mecole Hardman, those guys and everything is he's actually a wide receiver. He actually plays wide receiver. He's a normal sized human being, and he's a contest catch specialist, so you can line up anywhere on the field. So. I think, they have to be really excited to get him in there. They sent Patrick Mahomes down to work out with him. So he went down, they worked out together before the draft, and Mahomes gave him the A-OK. So that's pretty cool. I like that story there. So Rice, I would put Rice above Mingo here, but
just because of opportunity alone, for sure. I think out of like the wide receivers that I like though, and landing spots and everything, and their talent level, the problem with Rashee Rice to me is he went to a smaller school and he had one good year. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. He had a really great year that last year, and good for him getting drafted to one of the best football teams ever to play football. So excited for him. I just want to say there's buyer beware there. You're not getting JSN. You're not getting Addison with this pick.
You could be.
You never know what's going to happen. This could be the Justin Jefferson situation all over again. And this is the dumbest soundbite we've ever done. So once again, take it with a grain of salt. We don't know what's going to happen here. And then before we get into the other wide receivers, let's talk about these tight ends and Tyjae Spears. Tyjae Spears is going to be Derrick Henry's replacement. So he has some injury concerns. We all know that. But at the same time, this is right where he should be going at 2-3. I feel like this would be a great time to get him. I drafted him, so I'm very excited about this pick. There are some injury concerns, but there should be some injury concerns with Derrick Henry too. I don't know why. I mean, there isn't, because he's just always healthy for some stupid reason. But I say stupid reason, like I hate it. I love seeing Derrick Henry play football. But this is the running back of the future, most likely. So I think you got a chance here. Tennessee's onto a new way with Will Levis coming in. They still got Malik Willis. They got Tannehill. This team's going to change over time, and it's scary. But Tyjae Spears could be that guy, and I think you take the gamble.
I understand the gamble. I mean, I keep seeing, Dontrell Hilliard's role is wide open. He could take that spot and everything. My biggest problem is that knee. I know you don't like the injury concern. He's got Todd Gurley's knees coming in as a rookie. He's 2 ACL tears, latest one being in 2020. He does not have an ACL in his right knee. I think it's his right or his left. I can't remember.
He tapes it up, though. It's
Maybe it's
fine.
arthritis. Can you imagine playing running back without an ACL? That knee is unstable as hell, and I don't know. It just worries me too much. I mean, I get where everyone's going with this, but I'm out on him. I will not have him on any of my teams.
Is he the one with arthritis? I thought that was it is him. Never mind. Okay,
Yeah.
I thought for some reason that was Sean Tucker, but yeah, no, I'm not worried about it. I personally think that this is something that you're going to get some good years out of this guy. I mean, Gurley's problems happened 5 years down the road after being one of the best running backs in football. So if you can repeat Todd Gurley's early career, still phenomenal. Not worried about it.
No, I love what Tajay Spears did at Tulane. He was absolutely electric, but I'm out.
They got him for pretty cheap too. So, and then getting into the tight ends, Kincaid and Mayer. I think this is correct. Kincaid should go first, and I think in one league we had Mayer go way later. So both landed in phenomenal tight end spots. Although my biggest complaint is the best tight end in the draft went to the wrong team because Josh Allen does not throw to tight ends, not consistently at least. Gabe Davis is still there, and people are going to keep trying to hype up Gabe Davis. Do not listen to them. I think if there's a wide receiver too, it's going to be Kincaid, but I can't trust Josh Allen to throw to a tight end at the moment. I think he's the best talented tight end out there. I think Mayer actually lands in a better position or situation with Las Vegas, coming in and basically replacing Waller, and they actually finally paid big money for it. So I don't know. What do you think between the two? I mean, you can't really.
I mean, Kincaid, I love the landing spot here. I think he is just going to go right into the slot. I don't even think they're going to ask him to play any sort of tight end. I think he's going to be their slot guy. They're going to run a lot of 12 personnel. Obviously, Knox signed a huge contract, but Dalton Kincaid does not block. He is solely a receiver. And going to that offense, I'm a big fan of that move for him. So he is my tight end one. Michael Mayer probably is the most prototypical tight end in this draft. He looks awesome. I would not be shocked if he doesn't have the most receptions out of any of these guys year one. Las Vegas definitely has an opening there, but they have Devontae Adams, they have Jacoby Myers, they have Hunter Renfrow. I think, watching Mayer's tape, he's incredible. But he's going to be the guy that gets you 1 catch for 5 yards, 2 catches for 3 yards, 3 catches for 17 yards. You're not going to have any massive games out of Michael Mayer like you could get out of Kincaid or the next guy, Sam Laporta, which I'm really high on as well.
I actually have to disagree with you there. I'm gonna go ahead and say that this is the problem with your boy Kincaid is with Knox still there, who only got at most 7 targets last year. It's going to be hard for him to find immediate targets. I think this is for the future. This is great. I love all of these tight ends for the future. Mayer, I just feel like is actually slotting right in. There's no one to block him other than other wide receivers, which to me, Renfrow is leaving at this point. I think he just lost a lot of targets. You got Jacoby Meyer. We don't know what his exact role is going to be. I love the idea of adding multiple pass catchers. And I think Mayer, as you said, most prototypical tight end, he's going to be out there a lot. He's going to be the dump off guy. He's going to get multiple catches. I think Mayer ends up having a better rookie year, but I think Kincaid hopefully will have a better career with Josh Allen in the future. I just don't know what the heck they're going to do with Dawson Knox too, but it's not a bad thing because they'll probably be running a lot of 2 tight end sets with that team. And that means better running. So James Cook, we'll talk about him in a couple. We'll talk about him in a couple weeks. Anyway, Will Anderson finally makes it off the board at 207, exactly where he should go. We all know that he's the best pass rusher in this draft, and I don't think there's any conversation about it. Already touched on Rashee Rice at 7. Haven't touched on Hyatt and Downs at 8 and 9, New York Giants and Indy new receivers, which both should slot into pretty decent roles right away. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. I don't like Jalen Hyatt. I've had the opportunity to draft him a bunch of places. I just can't do it. I don't know what New York is doing. They're just drafting the same guy perpetually year after year, and they're just throwing him out there. I mean, I would put Hyatt over Darius Slayton right away. I think Hyatt's a better player than him. But, I mean, they still have Sterling Shepard on this roster. I think the biggest takeaway about this is Darren Waller is going to get fucking 200 targets this year is what I'm seeing, because on Hyatt, there's a chance for this man to come in. I mean, he was awesome last year, but Cedric Tillman had to get hurt from the pop off. But he's just a speed guy. I mean, he's not contested catching. You could try to get him over the middle of the field and let him run. He's fast enough to do it. I just don't know. the other thing is Daniel Jones passed almost the least in the NFL last year on long passes, and he's not very accurate at them. And that's Jalen Hyatt's game. So I don't understand what's going on here. I don't like it.
I know exactly what happened here. Okay, so for one, this is the guy who got comped to Tyreek Hill, and I said his career's over because they comped him to Tyreek Hill live on television when he got drafted. But just talking about this wide receiver room and what's happened in the past with the Giants, they haven't had a number one wide receiver since Odell left. I feel like they're cursed. I don't think they're ever going to again. I will say that this wide receiver room they have built right now is the most depth-filled wide receiver room. Like, it almost looks like their last 4 years they played football, all of their wide receivers have gotten injured, which is exactly what has happened. So we got Paris Campbell, obviously not great, but decent on Indy. Wan'Dale Robinson, rookie that didn't really pan out, tiny little human being. Been 1 year, so let's give him a chance. Jamison Crowder.
He was hurt.
I know. Jamison Crowder, who comes in after having some mediocre years after being pretty prolific on the Jets for a couple of years. Isaiah Hodgins, Joe's favorite player in the entire world. Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard, who have both been, the New York Giants guys for the longest time. That is 6 wide receivers that I named, and I haven't even said Jalen Hyatt's name yet. That's 7 wide receivers. It's going to be wild. My problem is Jalen Hyatt, I don't know if he's going to start right away. I don't know where he's going to go. Like, it's going to be weird. I like the future idea of him, and I like the idea of, hey, it's a home run hitter, but it feels very John Ross to me. I literally comped him to John Ross when they comped him to Tyreek Hill because that's what they did to John Ross.
Yeah, I mean, if you want Jalen Hyatt, I would say go on underdog and draft him. And he's a great best ball guy. I just don't – I mean, I love – like Deshaun Jackson type, it does awesome for your team. But even at that end, you're more comfortable with them as like a bye week guy. You're not – they're not going to go off every week. That's not going to happen. So Jalen Hyatt makes an awesome like bye week fill-in. But, I've seen him go much earlier than this as well. So this is actually an appropriate spot to take a flyer on him. But I'm just not too excited about it. I want to be. But I'm not.
I know. And then into Downs, getting to him at 9. We kind of preached on the Giants. Giants wide receivers, buyer beware, just all around.
Yeah.
Josh Downs coming in and new Indy regime as well. Probably, I don't know if it'll be right away. Gardner Minshew and Anthony Richardson is going to be a fun quarterback room. I feel like he's probably like, God damn it, they drafted Jalen Hurts again. But no, I'm actually really excited about Indy's passing game. Michael Pittman, try to see if you can get him right now. People are so down on him. People hate him. Just tell him, hey, they drafted Josh Downs. He's going to be really good from North Carolina. His kid's good. But go get Pittman as much as you can. But I love this for Downs as well because Alec Pierce had that stretch of the Travis Fulgham stretch. I'm going to call it from now on. There's a 4 or 5 game stretch where he looked really good. And then the rest of the season, he looked really bad. So I think he's the third for sure, but I think Downs slots into the second. I'm actually a little bit more excited about Downs than Hyatt here. I would probably take him over him. He actually has slipped in both of our drafts too. So mid-second is fine for Downs. So
yeah, if you watch Josh Downs, he's just always open. It's crazy to see. I mean, I don't know if he gets that same type of space in the NFL, but I like him enough. He's solid. There's a couple guys I'd rather have over him here. We'll get to those guys in a little bit, but I don't dislike Josh Downs.
All right, we're going to move a little faster here, but we got Sam Laporta. Let's talk about him real quick, and then let's get into some of these other picks.
Stud, draft him.
I don't personally like that they drafted him over Mayer. It felt really like Jalen Reagor, Justin Jefferson type thing. Like if Mayer goes off, they're like, we missed out. But I do like it because there's literally no tight end on this team. And Laporta should be pretty damn good, pretty much right off the bat as well. So if you're in late second round, I think Sam Laporta is easy. I think he might make it pretty mid third round. I think he did in one of our drafts. So pretty excited about him just overall. I don't think there's any bad things.
He's a tight end who's an Iowa Hawkeye. That's all you guys need to know. You don't need to know anymore. Draft him. He's going to be awesome.
Go get him. And then up next at 211, we got Tank Bigsby. And then 212, Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell is the first linebacker that should be off every board in Detroit. Anzalone is not the future. Jack Campbell is. That man looks like he's 35 years old. He is scary. But Tank Bigsby, a little scared about him in Jacksonville being the Etienne backup. But at the same time, my problem with Tank Bigsby is I was actually really most excited about this guy, mainly because of his name. I'm going to be honest, don't watch college football a whole lot. Super excited about this guy. Watched some tape on him. Was like, holy shit, yeah, this is the guy. And then he goes to Jacksonville, who just shipped out James Robinson, even though they drafted Etienne and didn't even keep a second running back. So little worried about Tank Bigsby, but maybe they realized later in the year when they were kind of slipping a little bit that, man, maybe we should have kept James Robinson and kept the 2. But they got a cheaper guy.
I think that's more of a knock on Robinson than anyone else because he didn't play at all in the Jets, and now he's on the Patriots buried. So we'll see.
I don't think he's buried. I think he's number 2, but we'll get to that later in the year.
We'll see.
Tank Bigsby, though, I like it. I just don't love it. Fine pick by Hunter, but we'll allow it. So round 2 for the podcast listeners, Roschon Johnson.
Bigsby's my guy, man. I like Tank Bigsby. All right, someone stole money from me and didn't give me a jersey. What's up? Let's go.
I'm trying to. Okay. Well, we really just want to let the audio listeners hear. Roschon Johnson, number 1, Mingo 2, Spears 3, Kincaid and Mayer 4 and 5, Will Anderson at 6, Rashee Rice, Hyatt Downs at 7, 8, 9, and Laporta, Bigsby, and Campbell to round out the group on round 2. And no, I agree. I like Bigsby a lot as a player. I just didn't like the landing spot.
No, I actually like the landing spot here. I've heard probably 100 people at this point say that Etienne's more of a pass catching back. And I mean, he caught 35 passes last year after they shipped Robinson out. He's not that guy. He was not super efficient either. I love Travis Etienne, but I think Tank Bigsby sees more playing time than people are giving him credit for. Right off the gun. I mean, he absolutely carried Auburn's offense, looked awesome, and I think he comes in a role with a young team where he's going to get a lot of play. I mean, they're really tooling this offense now. It's going to be fun to watch.
I do love Jacksonville just adding offensive weapons in general. I don't care who it is because that team can be one of the best teams. Doug Peterson has turned that ship around, and I think he continues to. And I would personally love to see him get another ring, but at the same time, I want the Eagles to too. So Tank Bigsby, or not Tank Bigsby, but the problem with fast running backs in general is everyone just assumes they're pass catchers. Some people cannot catch the football that well, and some people are more of the standard running back, and even if they are fast. So I feel like people in fantasy football are just like, oh, he's really fast. He's got a really fast 40 time. He's definitely a pass catching back. And it's like, he might not be. Let's just calm down. So excited to see Jacksonville just all around. And then this is personally a shocking development to me in both leagues. Will Levis has slipped to the 3rd and 4th round in both of the 2 leagues that we've drafted, at least partially through. I disagree with it personally. I really think he should be going in the 2nd round. So he went 3-1 in this league. I think he went 4, 5, or 6 in the last league that we're in as well. It's kind of wild to me that he's slipping down the board like he did in NFL drafts. And I'm wondering if it had to do with that or what. I think Will Levis, people forget that Will Levis was literally a top 5 pick like 2 weeks ago. Just because he slipped, I'm not saying, maybe this is being related to like Malik Willis and how he slipped, but Malik Willis was like a hype pump up that people put in mock drafts and stuff. I think Will Levis just didn't get picked in the 1st round because the back end all have quarterbacks and the front end ended up doing different things. So it was just one of those really unfortunate events for him. And I really hated that they showed his fucking face every 3 minutes on the draft. I was just like, you leave the poor guy alone, man.
I was not upset because he had an all-star lineup on the couch with him. I don't know who those girls were, but
we were talking about that. We were like, he's got a new chick each pick. Like you're my girl for 16. You're my girl for 17. It was a phenomenal group. I'm assuming some of them are his sisters or something, but I just every time they showed him on camera, there's a new girl sitting next to him. We're just like, what is going on with Will?
It was wild, man. He's definitely the future there. And honestly, Tennessee played it perfectly, waiting like they did to get him. They didn't trade up. They didn't do anything stupid. They got their guy in the 1st round. I think they went Skoronski, right? But they got him, and then Will Levis is getting to Tannehill, man. He's either going to get hurt or he's going to be mediocre. So they replaced Will Levis in year 1.
They replaced Tannehill last year with Malik Willis, and he didn't look good either. But I mean, Tannehill did not look good last year. They traded away AJ Brown, which was his only toy. Obviously, Derrick Henry's there, but like he's not really a pass catching back. So Tannehill's got to do something to prove it. And I think Will Levis starts this year. I don't think it's the right move. This is probably the one situation where it's the right move because like 4 or 5 weeks in the season, they've lost 4 of 5, and you're sitting there and you're like, yeah, it's time. Will, get in there. And Will Levis, Malik Willis, I think they eventually probably get rid of Malik Willis or find a new spot for him. They might do some Lamar Jackson stuff with him. He's a fast guy, so put the football in his hands at least. But Levis, I think, should be a little higher. So anyway, Sean Tucker, and correct me if I'm wrong because no name is popping up on him. He is the Rams guy, right?
He is a Buccaneer.
Buccaneer. Okay. Oh, he's the one who went undrafted. Right.
Yep. Yep. There were a bunch of weird things about him being injured and maybe not being healthy, and he slipped. But interesting pick here. It's a little bit earlier than I would, but I get it.
So this is the time of the draft where you just grab your guy you want. So I personally am okay with Sean. If you need a running back and you're in this spot, Sean Tucker, Zach Evans going to the Rams. Sorry, that was the guy I was thinking of. Vaughn going to Dallas. Chase Brown going to Cincinnati. I'm personally out on the Abanaka guy, but just any of those running backs. If you need a running back, man, pick your guy, dude. Don't sit there and think like, oh, he'll make it 12 picks, because some other guy might be like, I like him too, or I'm going to take a gamble on this guy. I don't really trust Pollard, so I'm going to go with Vaughn. Or I don't think that Akers' little stint at the end of the season was anything but a fluke, so I'm going to go with Evans. So feel free to grab your guy. I'm cool with all those guys. So
at this point in the draft, and I don't know if we're going to run through the rest of this draft here, but I mean, Sean Tucker, awesome if he gets on the Bucs and makes some noise. Great opportunity. Zach Evans, honestly, Cam Akers does not look great. He could go right in there and make some noise. Skyron Williams didn't do anything. Abanikanda being selected by the Jets, especially as high as they took him, really makes me worried about Breece Hall more than anything. Is he healthy? Chase Brown, honestly, though, there are two running backs I really want here. It's Chase Brown and it is Eric Gray. Chase Brown, obviously, if Mixon does anything stupid again, Chase Brown's your guy. He's going to go right in there. He looked really good at Illinois, and there's definitely a role for him to be at least on the field. I don't think he's going to get a lot of work, but he's going to slot right into the number 2. And then Eric Gray from Oklahoma went to the Giants. Guys, there's a lot of smoke coming from the Saquon thing, and Saquon doesn't have the best injury history either. Plus, he's a pass catcher. So Eric Gray could get on the field very quickly, at least be a pass-catching running back. And if anything were to happen with Saquon, I don't think he's going to be a long-term guy. But at this late in the round, you could get a guy that this year could actually help out. So those are my thoughts there.
Yeah. Personally, for me ranking them, these all went in like the 3, 4, 5s. Actually, Gray's still on the board here, so might pick him in my next pick. Thanks, Joe. Just kidding. I already grabbed 2 right backs. I don't need it. Evans, nobody. It's anybody's ball game in the Rams, so feel free to pick them if you want them. Vaughn, they did not bring Zeke back at the moment, so there is going to be a number 2 to Pollard. I thought Vaughn was a little more similar to Pollard, but it's fine. Chase Brown, I feel like off the field issues aside, Mixon's gonna be done sooner or later. I mean, whether this is next year or this year, there's a chance that Brown could see the field. I'm not really worried about the Jets just yet. I don't think Breece Hall has a problem in the future. They still have their guys from last year too that filled in really well, so not too worried about that. But no, we're just gonna hit the spotlights. I'm actually gonna go through round 3 real quick, and just if there's anyone else we want to talk about, I just kind of focus on the running back. So
there's a guy I really want to talk about.
We'll get it. Will Levis number 1, Sean Tucker at number 2, Nolan Smith number 3, Tyree Wilson number 4, Jalen Reed. I feel like somebody might want to talk about that. Devin Witherspoon, Brian Branch, Zach Evans 6, 7, 8, Jalen Carter, Mims, Hooker, and Miles Murphy to finish out the draft. Let's just go ahead and do your thing. So anyway, Nolan Smith, I picked him because I'm excited for the future for him. Tyree Wilson, I was actually debating on that. And I was also debating on Jalen Reed, who went 2 picks later. And I think Joe has like to interrupt me here.
Yeah, I have an absolute man crush on Jaden Reed. He went to the Packers, which is upsetting to me, but it's the perfect landing spot for him. If you watch this dude at Michigan State, okay, possums, drink of choice, whiskey, tequila, beer, IPAs like Josh likes. Flip on the tape of Jaden Reed and just watch him. Just watch him. He has a horrible quarterback and a horrible offense, especially after Kenneth Walker left. But this dude is open on every single play. And if for whatever reason he's not, he fights like an absolute animal to bring the ball down. He's a deep threat. He was a punt returner. He makes the contested catches. He could be a possession guy, and he's always my knock on the receivers of this class. 1, they're small, but 2, you see these guys getting separation on tape in college. They're not going to get that against NFL defenders, and I have problems with a lot of these guys in this draft at wide receiver. Jaden Reed is absolutely special, and he lands in a spot where he's going to go right in. He's going to beat out Doubs. I'm sure of it. He's going to be the 2, and there's a chance. I know Josh hates Christian Watson. He could be the 1. I'm just saying, I know it's a Jordan Love offense, but you're getting an absolute steal right here that no one is on at the moment. So
I 100% agree with you. And now I honestly wish I would have drafted him. Once you said you were interested, I was like, God damn, I thought I was too early on him. I thought, and like, this is one of those, like, hey, he's slotting in. He's not the top 5 guy, but he's slotting into a immediate start position. And honestly, we don't know what's going to happen with Green Bay. Jordan Love might be it. Like, I don't personally think it is, but the Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre trajectory that he is on right now is he's going to be the shit this year. So I'd like to see it. And they got him finally got him wide receiver. It wasn't a first round pick like we were hoping for, but no, excited about that.
Jaden Reeves is my number 5 wide receiver. I was
Real
doing some
quick,
rankings earlier.
We're gonna end this after this talk because I want to finish up the 3rd round because there's a couple guys I want to talk about, and then we get to pick one guy from the 4th or 5th or undrafted at the moment, and we'll talk about him. But at the moment, I want to talk about Marvin Mims, who is really completely undervalued. One of my highest receivers on the board, not top 5, but in the 7-8 range. And he's been going at late 3rd, late 4th. He is the sleeper of my drafts. At least I guys sniped him in 4-1 and in a different league, not this one, obviously. I love this for Denver. There's been so much buzz about Sutton and Judy being traded during the offseason and still could before the trade deadline. I think it'd be Sutton more so than Judy because Judy actually played a little better than last year, but who knows? I love the idea of adding some firepower to this Russell Wilson. You committed here. You need to make sure you add some firepower and do something on this offense and throw. I understand why people are nervous about Russell Wilson and just Denver as a whole, but this team's going to be good. I don't know if Russell Wilson's going to be fantasy relevant, but I think that Marvin Mims in the future, he is the future of this organization at the moment. I don't know if Judy will be re-signed. We think that Sutton will be gone before the end of the year, potentially. I love this landing spot, and I don't think there's anything anyone can say about it. And to get him in the 3rd or 4th round just could be one of the best things.
This is Sean Payton's first pick as a coach of the Broncos was Marvin Mims. He has wide receivers. He could have stuck with those guys. He could have done that. He chose this guy for this exact purpose, and we know he's an offensive genius. He's a guru at that. Tim Patrick's off an ACL. Sutton really hasn't done it. Judy really hasn't done it yet. No one's really stepped up there. I don't anticipate Marvin Mims to be the one by any means, but this late in the draft, you're getting a guy that could absolutely be a number 2, number 3 wide receiver in the NFL.
Everybody back off my guy Judy. He actually had a pretty decent run for what was happening at that team. But
no,
I get
sure.
it. I get it. He's also injured for 5-6 games, but we'll be fine. Yeah. Judy and Mims next year. My guesstimate would be Sutton's gone and Judy and Mims are the wide receivers next year. This isn't a right now today pick. This is a later pick. This is a Terrace Marshall diamond in the rough. Could be this year as well, though, with Tim Patrick. We're not sure what's going to happen there. Anyway, I want to talk about Hendon Hooker real quick before we finish out the 2nd round or 3rd round. Hendon Hooker is, I think, the best quarterback to draft in this class. And it's not, and that's taking everything in sake and values. We got landing spot, we got future, we got timeline and draft price. I got him I picked him at actually 212 in a different league, and he went in 311 here. I was actually excited to see where his draft stock is actually trending to. Most people I actually picked him before Will Levis. I personally think this is the future for Detroit. Detroit is an up and coming, amazing offense. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, although suspended for a few games, and some other positions here. The running back game is just phenomenal. I am super excited about Detroit's future, and I actually had them potentially being one of those guys that's sneaky and go up for Bryce Young or Anthony Richardson or Stroud or Levis, and I'm actually really glad what they did. They waited. They got Hendon Hooker later. The Detroit draft looked a little weird, but at the end of the day, they got a really good team out of it. So, and as you see, there's plenty of Detroit people in this draft on the board. So there's a reason that is. It didn't look like it during the draft day. We were all kind of like, what the fuck are they doing? Laporta before Mayer, Gibbs at 12, and Jack Campbell earlier than anyone had him listed. I think this is a good team, man. They got the positions they needed to. They got a future quarterback. I didn't really think the running back was an issue, but if Dan Campbell says so, maybe Gibbs got that dog in him, So anyway, Joe, to finish this off, unless you have any thoughts on Hendon Hooker, pick one guy for the rest of the draft.
I do love Hendon Hooker.
Yeah, but pick one guy. You're like, this is a steal, or this is, this could be something. This is something. I believe it's something. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, my guy's A.T. Perry from New Orleans, coming out of Wake Forest. He's 6'3", 200 pounds, big dude. New Orleans, I don't know if you guys know this, but Michael Thomas shows up but doesn't show up and then leaves and then quits and then his toe hurts. His toe's been broken for 6 years now and he never plays. Chris Olave is an absolute animal on there. But, I mean, do we really think the guy that they drafted in the 6th round, what's his name, Shaheed? Can't think of his name right now.
Rashid Shaheed? Raheed Shaheed?
Yeah,
I don't know.
something like that. He looked awesome last year, but I would rather take a shot on A.T. Perry being the guy that's the number 2 in this offense if something were to go wrong with Michael Thomas this year, which it probably will, or the number 3 on this offense. That Derek Carr is the quarterback of. Derek Carr has made some wide receivers very good in his day. So I really like it. I think he slots. I wouldn't be surprised if he's the number 2, by week 6 next year. And if you're getting him this late, he's going to get some work. I like him a lot. Keep him on your radar.
I actually do agree. Michael Thomas is dead. I'm sorry. You cannot convince me otherwise. Keep telling me that Michael Thomas is good. It's been 3 years, guys. It's not happening. I think this is the 4th year at this point where we just haven't had Michael Thomas play football. I'm sorry. I'm not expecting a comeback. It's a very Josh Gordon situation. Josh Brown, Antonio Brown, Josh Gordon. But yeah, it's just not for him anymore. I don't think that the comeback's going to be there. He'd need to be a role player. That wide receiver 2 slot is wide open, and I think A.T. Perry slots in. My number 1 steal of the draft, and I say steal as in like late pick. Do not draft this guy high because we're not sure what's going to happen. It's Tank Dell for Houston. The wide receiver room is open there. Nobody's really a wide receiver 1. I understand Tank Dell is tiny, which is hilarious because his name's Tank.
So tiny.
5'8", tiny little guy running around the field. But I feel like what he's going to do is he's going to end up slotting in as like a Julian Edelman type guy. He's going to get quick little slants. This is not Tyreek Hill. Do not compare him to that. Do not curse this little man. But went to Houston, local man. I think this is like a Philip Lindsay type thing where just he's late draft pick, same town, just going to be a hometown hero. So far, they got Robert Woods, Nico Collins, John Mechie, and the rookie Xavier Hutchinson, I believe, they drafted. This wide receiver room, this isn't anybody's ball field. We don't know what's going to happen with Mechie. I'm actually rooting for him. I hope he's the wide receiver 1, if I have to be honest. Nico Collins has been okay in his stead. We can't ever say, man, look at Nico Collins. He looks great. And then I actually think Robert Woods will have a little bit of a comeback here, but who knows what'll happen. So I just think going in the 5th round as a wide receiver that could have a fantasy impact on a new team, CJ Stroud might just love him. So I gotta at least think about him. I've been actually debating on it because I was like, when's too early for this guy? Like he's so little, we don't know what's going to be. This could be another situation with the Giants, Wan'Dale Robinson type thing didn't work out. But honestly, when Wan'Dale Robinson was on the field, he looked phenomenal. He just didn't get the ball and he got injured. So I don't know. Just excited about the guy. I don't know what it's going to be, but I feel like you could take worse late round flyers.
Dude, they traded up in the 3rd round to draft Tank Dell, and that was shocking. I did not see him going that early, but when that name was called, I was kind of blown away. They invested some capital on him, so they're at least going to try to use him. Does he return punts or anything?
That
was the only thing
There's no way he does it to start off with. Very Devin Hester type. He's apparently has blazing speed though. That's what's getting me. And watching some tape on him, like he doesn't look little out there, but it's also college, so in NFL he might look a little smaller. But if he's as shifty as he says, they could do some end arounds with him. I mean, they can do a lot of things. Hopefully, they can throw the ball too. That'd be a fun little trick play. But no, I don't know. I'm just excited about this guy. Who knows? The sky's the limit for him. So I don't know. Take Dell. You're my